Oh, hey there. Just putting the finishing touches on the KD-12X Mark II. Hi, welcome to the superpilotish channel. My name is Graham Wilson, and I'm going to be talking today about flying a Taildragger in my basement. Now, I'm not flying my Taildragger in the basement. I went flying on the weekend, actually. It was pretty cool. And so I figured if I was going to talk a bit about uh, flying in a Taildragger, I had to do a few modifications to my training aid here. So this is the KD 12X Mark II. You can tell by the larger rudder area. I also did a modification, added a horizontal stabilizer here. And right now I'm getting the landing gear all worked out to look like a Taildragger. So here we go. I might need a little tape for that one. Let me see. A little tape wouldn't hurt. So here we go. All right. What do we got? Speed tape, electrical tape. Well, let's put some speed tape on there. That'll make it look a little bit more cool. A little bit more aluminum kind of, I don't know, aviation-ish. I like the ish stuff. Okay. Yeah, so that's right, Jordan. We are upgrading the airplane here today. Yeah, so like on the weekend, it was absolutely gorgeous. And so on Saturday, I went out to the airport and I was flying a new type of airplane that I'd never flown before. So it was it's kind of part of my New Year's resolution. And I kind of wanted to keep it secret, but there you go, 100-mile-per-hour tape. That's right, wrench. And how could I do this? Yeah, so my New Year's resolution was to get checked out on a different type of airplane that I hadn't flown before. So that's kind of what I started that process. Oh, I don't know. I've been out to the airport a few times talking to a few people here and there. And yeah, so I went up with somebody on the weekend. And it was the first time I was ever like, I've been in, whoa, airplane crash. I've been in a Taildragger before as a passenger, but never actually flying it, like taking off and landing. So, yeah, I actually did my first takeoff and my first landing in a Taildragger. So that was pretty neat. And it was a, well, the name of the plane is it's a DHC-1 de Havilland Chipmunk. So it was an old training airplane back in the British and Canadian Air Force. Oh, back in the end of the 40s, beginning of the 50s, and I think even into the 60s. So, oh, here we go. We got the Taildragger. There's my wheels. Boom. All right. Here we go. And yeah, so I just figured I'd kind of go over what was a little bit different about that because before I'd always flown in planes that have the tricycle gear, kind of the nose wheel up front. So I don't know, maybe that's not the best. But we'll imagine there's a conventional or Taildragger setup. There's a wheel in the back. And then for a tricycle gear, they call it. So it's like riding your tricycle, you got a wheel up front here. And that's the way that most of like all your airliners, that'd be considered a tricycle gear. And yeah, so it was like it's a really weird and of course typically British designed that everything is strange on it. If you've ever looked under the hood of a Jaguar or the under the hood of a like an MG or something like that, there's just like this British engineering is just like it works, but it's all kind of weird. So that's kind of the way the Chipmunk was. And one of the things there that took a little getting used to was that it doesn't have regular toe brakes like normal I don't know, Cessna 172 or just your conventional planes out there. They all have the top of the rudder pedals. You hit those and you activate each brake, but it's got a handbrake on it. So it's kind of funny, and the handbrake, depending on how your rudder pedals are, will give different brake pressure to different wheels, and it's a real funny thing to get your feet in the hand and brake going to figure out where you're going or like to taxi. Is really strange. So that was one weird thing. The other thing that was really strange because it was the first takeoff I'd ever done in a Taildragger, or we'll just call it Taildragger. It's a conventional airplane, and it's got tandem seating. So you got one. I was sitting in the front, and then the instructor, the checkout pilot, was sitting in the back. So when you take off, it's got quite a kind of a nose high attitude. So if you're sitting here, if you're sitting right here, you can't see directly in front of the airplane. It's blocked by the nose up here. And apparently, like all the old, Spitfires, Mustangs, Corsairs, you can't see in front of you, and so you kind of have to S turn. You'll look out the side, and then go look out the other side, then look out the other side, and you kind of do that and zigzag down the taxiway. But when you take off, you want to get a bunch of speed, and you bring your tail off the ground like this, and then so you're still not at flying speed yet, and you're kind of flying the tail off the ground. Then you speed up, and then eventually it kind of just wants to come off. But the weird thing is, to get the plane up, usually you'll pull back on a control column, and that makes your tail go down, and up you go. But to start off on your takeoff roll, you actually have to kind of check the stick forward a little bit, which is really counterintuitive to regular tricycle gear pilots. And you got to kind of move the stick forward to get the tail up. And then as you get faster, you do less and less and less pressure on it, and up the plane goes. So that's a little different. And the other funny thing about the Chipmunk is that the propeller spins the other way. Like, I guess you would see normal airplanes, conventional, or whatever, the ones you're usually used to. The propeller will be spinning clockwise from the pilot's vantage point, but I think so, clockwise. Anyways, it's the opposite way for a Chipmunk. The propeller goes the opposite way. So usually when you're taking off, you need right rudder. This one here, you need a lot of left rudder, and it's a very Chipmunk, really, it makes you use your feet. And so that was a funny thing. You know what? I should start writing these things down, just in case somebody wants to go fly a Chipmunk or something. We'll say 5 strange things on my whiteboard. Okay. 5 strange, or just things to watch out for. Things about taildraggers, and there's tons and tons and tons of videos on the on YouTube about this. Strange things about taildraggers. But whatever, maybe someone will see this one, and maybe I covered something that other people didn't. Okay, so the strangest weird thing, and I guess I'll just write down the things that are probably common to most airplanes, would be tail up, takeoff, we'll say. Takeoff. And we'll say this for we'll say use lots of rudder. Of rudder. Okay, there we go. We got 2 things. Strange things about taildraggers. The tail up on the takeoff, and you got to use lots of rudder to keep it straight. Okay, the other weird thing that I'm not going to write down is that because this airplane, if you're sitting directly in the middle of the airplane, I've never flown as like actually flying the plane. I've been a passenger in the back before, and not really paying too much attention, just enjoying the ride. But when you're looking at the front, it looks pretty cool. It's kind of like you're flying I don't know, like a flight simulator or a video game, or watching a YouTube video from the pilot's view. And when you're looking at the plane, you're looking right down the middle of the nose, and it's straight. So if you're flying I don't know, if you're flying a big jet, or you're flying a little conventional Cessna 172, whatever you want, I've always been sitting either in the pilot seat on the left, and when you're turning right and left, your sight picture is a little bit different each way, because you're sitting off center, and so you might be, the horizon's a little higher over here and a little lower on that way. So, or even sitting in the instructor seat or the passenger seat, it's it's not used to. I wasn't used to, when you're turning, that it's kind of like a symmetrical view either way. So that was something a little bit different. And okay, there's that. I'll write something else down here just for fun. Okay, this was a weird thing. And in older airplanes, whoop. Yeah, in older airplanes, there's no stall warning horn. So when you're coming up to the wing stops flying, just stops flying. And there's no hey, watch out, or a little light to light up. So that's something weird. And yeah, I'll get to I see a couple questions in there, and I'll get to that at the end. And quite happy to answer them. So yeah, there was no stall warning horn. And is that a bug? What is that? Anyways, so that was weird. We were actually practicing, uh, one of the things when you learn how to fly a plane is you learn how to make it not fly, which is kind of weird. So usually, if you're flying a plane, you'll be flying along, and then you bring back the throttle. So you need that engine spinning to keep you up in the air. So you just try to maintain your altitude, and by that you got to kind of bring the nose up, and eventually you get to a point where you'll hear a stall warning horn in most planes, and then your heavy nose falls down here. The plane starts flying again. You have to recover from your stall, but this plane here, it just gets slower and slower, and the controls get mushier, and then just it very quietly just kind of goes down. And so one thing I'm going to try to notice next time, because there was a lot kind of going on the first time I was in this type of plane. I noticed during the pre-flight inspection that the airplane for Chipmunk, I'll use a little pointer here. Okay, at the leading edge of the wing on the inside here, they have what they call stall strips, and it's something there that when the wing starts going like this too much to the wind, it'll create turbulent air. And I was thinking why they had just these little stall strips in the middle, or like right near the fuselage. Usually the stall strips are out here, but my thinking about that again was, if this part of the wing here starts to get turbulent air, it'll come back here and you'll feel it on in the stick on your elevator. So that's why I think they did that. And the next time I go up and do some stalls, I'm gonna really pay attention to the shaking in the elevator before it actually lets go. So that's something that I'm thinking might be the case. So no stall warning horn. That's a weird one. Another thing that I won't write down, but I was kind of expecting this airplane to be kind of, I don't know, kind of primitive, kind of old. I forget what the year was, 1952, 53 is when it was made. But it was surprisingly, when we simulated an engine failure, you just basically bring the throttle back to idle. Your engine's still running. And we pretend to glide down into some little field somewhere, as if we had to land there because our engine conked out. But it glided surprisingly well. And I was really surprised. I actually kind of overshot my field that I was kind of aiming for, because I thought I'd be able to get it down. I didn't think it would glide so well. So, okay, well, mental note, next time I'll get it. And another one was, I found out as I was trying to kind of get the plane down with some flaps, it had, and this could be something to watch out for any Taildragger, is watch the maximum flap extension speed. Flap extension speed. What is the maximum? All right, there we go. Watch out for your flap extension speed. What's the maximum? And it's actually quite low on the Chipmunk. It's 85 miles per hour. The speedometer, airspeed indicator was in miles per hour, not knots. And so it was actually 85 miles per hour, which is, it's pretty slow. Usually you'll get like 85 knots, or right up around 90 or something like that. Cessnas can go for 10 degrees of flap. You can be going 110 knots and still put it down. So that's something to watch out for, is your flap extension speed. That's on any airplane. And what else we got here? Okay, then the other thing, we'll stick to 5 points because everything's like cool on YouTube with 5. All right. And what else we got here? The last thing, number 5. Okay. Oh, a very high nose, high attitude. ATT. when landing. So the landing that I did was supposed to be, but didn't quite turn out to be a 3-point landing, as they say. So there's a really nose high attitude when landing. So what that means is that remember when I was saying that when I was taxiing out, I couldn't see in front of me. Well, that was kind of weird. I'm not used to seeing that. And so when you're coming into land, you want to be like this. Can you see that? There's your 3-point landing. Like, so you'd want to come down and just go point, 3 points, just like that. There's another way, another technique of landing where you stick the front wheels on first, cut your power off, and then slowly let the tail down. I landed somewhere in between, but I was a little bit hesitant to be bringing the nose up so high when I came into land, because any other plane I'd flown before is that generally if you put the nose up on the horizon or on the trees at the end of the runway, that'll give you a nice, a nice attitude to touch down in. If you're in a regular tricycle gear plane, but this one here was very unusual to have the nose up so high, so I didn't really do that, and I kind of went somewhere in between, but it was still nice and smooth, so that's cool. And I'll be doing more of that, and hopefully get a video or two off. I'm not really going to video anything as I'm learning. I don't want the distraction in the cockpit, but afterwards, once I get checked out, which was actually my that's my New Year's resolution. When I do get checked out, I'll probably slap a camera in there and go flying around and make a video. So anyways, that is that. Let's do a little recap and then we'll go to some questions. Oh yeah, special shout out to the neighbor Travis too. I was using his tools to make my landing gear here today. So there you go. Very good. I got to give those tools back to him. Okay, so what did strange things about Taildraggers, old Taildraggers, we'll say. Maybe we'll just make that old Taildraggers. All right, so there we go. What do we got? Number one is that the tail, you got to kind of bring the tail up to take off. Number two, you got to use lots of rudder all the time to stay straight going down that center line and keep it coordinated. Number three, there's no stall warning horn in some of these airplanes. Number four, flap extension speed, and this applies for any airplane you're flying new. Make sure you don't overspeed your flaps. They can get pretty close to that sometimes, and it's a very nose high attitude when you're landing. Yeah, so there we go, something to watch out for. Things that really kind of, I don't know, it's like I've flown lots of quite a few different types of airplanes and quite a few hours, and this was just kind of a weird one. So anyways, there we go. Let's do we'll go through a few little questions here, and it's a beautiful day out there today too. Probably go for a little walk, keep the old weight and balance down. Gotta try to stay fit if you're a pilot. So what else we got here? Okay, and we got yeah, Wrench was asking, Chipmunk is aerobatic upside down. We didn't go upside down. Probably at some point we will basically kind of working on the nuts and bolts of flying right now. And yeah, it's a pretty strong airplane. I think it can take like 9 Gs and 9 positive, 6 negative Gs or something like that. So it's a pretty strong airplane. And I know they do where I'm going to be flying it there. They do that type of aerobatic stuff every once in a while. And it's a nice plane for that. Very good, some cool, very slick controls, very smooth controls, we'll say. And yeah, so Wrench is saying here too that Wikipedia says that Canadian chipmunks have a bubble canopy. Yeah, the chipmunks that were made in Canada and used in Canada anyways for training, it's got a bubble canopy. The British ones, they call it the greenhouse canopy because it's a bunch of what would you call it? It would be a bunch of flat glass panels kind of going over you at an angle, but the chipmunk, the Canadian chipmunk, has a one-piece plexiglass kind of bubble canopy. It's fantastic visibility. It's pretty cool. And on a nice day like last Saturday, it was like, wow, this is great. So, all right, what else we got here? Dan Duval, hey Dan. Okay. One of Dan's first memories was tagging along to chop the rope of a revving Taildragger. Yeah, that is a technique that could be used. I know bush pilots used to do that all the time on their float planes. If they had a smaller lake to take off in, they'd get a rope and then like they'd tie it to a tree or something like that, and then you just kind of chop the rope, get it up to full power, then chop the rope, and off it goes, or have someone else chop the rope. So yeah, I don't know what happens to the rope. It probably just trails along after you have something, but I've heard of people doing that. And yeah, okay. And Wrench has flown a Piper Cub and a Taylor Craft Champ. Very cool. And he was mentioning wheel landings. Yep, the wheel landing is that's right. When you get the main wheels on first, and then cut your power, and you land and let the tail wheel go down. That type of landing is best done on pavement. I mean, you could do it on a grass or gravel or something like that too. But yeah, that's the preferred landing technique on pavement. So you'll see, any of those like B-17s or DC-3s, those great big planes, they'll always do a wheel landing when you see them coming in. There we go. What else we got? Okay. Okay, we're talking about balloons here too a little bit. So yeah, okay. So Wrench is also bringing up here based on some other news. Wrench is saying that a Sidewinder missile to shoot down a balloon costs $400,000 according to Wikipedia. So, yeah, it's pricey to go popping balloons, isn't it? So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of didn't want to talk about the balloon stuff too much right now. I really see it as a whole bunch of nothing. Kind of. I mean, they've been putting up weather balloons forever, and they just some of them, and any of these ones wherever they see, like the latest one was it yesterday, Saturday, Sunday, was shot down over Lake Huron, and then I was thinking, okay, let me guess, let's pull up the jet stream map. Yep, there it was. It was just in the jet stream, but booting along. And like all these balloons, they're just like they get caught in the jet stream and just get whipped along. And I don't know if they're Chinese or North American, and nobody knows. And I also don't particularly like the way that they're calling them the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down. It's like if the news source is a little bit better, they'll say the suspected Chinese spy balloon, but there's no proof that they're doing anything, or like they didn't say they were specifically targeting Wi-Fi signals. They don't know. They blew the thing up. So it's like I don't know. I guess it must be like slowing the news or something. So they talk about spy balloons and weather balloons. Let's go shoot them down. But I mean that'd be cool. Like, hey, let's go shoot this balloon down. You know, target practice. Here we go. But I just yeah, I don't know about spending 400 grand. I mean, they'd probably blow off that missile anyways in training. So I don't know, might as well have some fun popping balloons. And so there we go. Yeah. So, anyways, that is about it for today. And what day is today? Today is Monday. So I'll be back Wednesday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And we'll just kind of shut her down here, and I will keep you guys up to date on how my flying is progressing. And another thing about that is that I think that if you're a pilot, you kind of always kind of should be doing something you haven't done before. You kind of pushing the limits, not really pushing the limits, but like to you could say like a good pilot's always improving or trying to get a little bit better. So that's kind of my idea. After I wrote my ATPL exams, I was thinking, well, what's next? And then it was like, well, I never did fly a Taildragger. After that, what'll be next? I don't know. Never flew a jet. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I always say anything you do in aviation that that's something a bit extra, it always makes you a better pilot. So even if you're doing, like, say you get a float rating, you can go fly seaplanes. Okay, you'll still learn something there that you can transfer back to just booting around out of your home airport in a Cessna 172, which is pretty pretty vanilla ice cream, but even still, that float training, there'll be something there that you learn that'll just make you better. And Wrench is asking, do I float? Last time I was swimming, yeah. But yeah, I have a seaplane rating, yeah, and it's pretty fun. So okay, there we go. We'll shut her down. Thank you for watching. Bye.